Hello. What's going on, Rayhem? You are the one and only man in a world full of boys. Well, I have a mustache now, so I feel like I could challenge you to that. But I don't know. I don't know the rules around that. I just think that the mustache affords me some special treatment. Anyway, cool. Nick has a mustache, and that's okay. Let's have a listen. I put the submission thread up really last minute. So right now we have 7 songs. But if you know somebody that may like to have a second set of ears, or like 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 sets of ears on their track, then let them know that they can submit. Yeah, I definitely, I've been thinking about becoming a small town mall cop. Maybe, I don't think they're actually allowed to stop people from shoplifting. I don't think they can, I don't think they can touch anybody, but I could definitely look very disapprovingly at someone who is wearing a backpack in a CVS. Okay, let's have a listen. See what you guys been up to. What's up, Sed? Welcome. Corn Star Stash. Interesting. Thank you for not saying the P word, which I don't know. I've said way worse. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let's have a listen. So the first thing we got to listen to is Aiden Dodge, In Your Arms, co-produced by Divert, the collab of the century. Let's have a listen.
Drift away when I need you the most, and I'd give anything just so you'd hold me close. Try to keep me in the dark, I just wanna be in your arms. I've kept it shut too long, now I need it unlocked. Your warmth on my skin's why I'm staying alive. You give me everything that I need to survive, and I know you hear me calling from miles away. I just wish that you and I could speak face to face. Can't keep living like this, just waiting for the day that you will take me out the dark. 'Cause I just wanna be in your arms. In your arms.
This is very cool. I like this track. I liked it the first time you sent it in. I don't know if I gave you the de-essing comment before, but I still feel like it's aggressively de-essed. Like arms is sounding like arms. It's like, it's not terrible, but I think it's still a little lispy. I also think that the vocals could come up mostly in, like, when it gets to the beat section, the vocals feel okay. I think they could still be a little louder, but like
and I'd give anything just so you'd hold me close.
Well, if it's not DS, then are you just pronouncing it like SH? Because I noticed it a few different spots. And are you sure that it's not getting, it's the recording? Interesting. Well, anyway, to me, it sounds...
In your arms, I just wanna be in your
Add an esser. I've never thought of a DDSer, a DDSer, that double DSer, you know?
in your arms.
Like it doesn't, it's not hitting me as aggressively as it did the last time. Though I think I don't know. I'd have to compare the two recordings. But it just, to me, the S's just sound subdued or something a bit too much. And I'm not sure why. My first guess is a de-esser, but if there's no de-esser, then I don't know. It's just, it's not like the end of the world. It's not terrible, but to me, it's still kind of stuck out to me. And then when it comes to shub, dude, wow, you're on fire today. A multi-band compressor is basically the same thing as a de-esser. I mean, like the other way around. A de-esser is a multi-band compressor with two bands. So I don't know if you're using a multi-band compressor, but if you say you listen to just the raw recording and it still kind of sounds like the S's are a bit lispy, then I'm not really sure, because I don't think you have a lisp. So I'm not. But anyway, like I said, it's not the end of the world. I just wanted to mention it. When it comes to the beat, the only thing, it's the snare is still, it's just like, it just lacks tone.
In your arms, I'm giving you my love before all of it's gone. So open up your ears when I sing you this song, 'cause you give me everything I need to reconstruct. And I can't find my way out of the darkness till you give me all of your love. And I don't wanna have my heart broken into a million pieces again, 'cause even when we're far apart.
And your vocals, I think, probably has, oh, sorry, my leg is itchy. Your vocals probably have a little too much 300 hertz. Because when I pulled a bunch out, let's see if we can find a section with mostly just your vocals.
In your arms.
Yeah, I don't think you need to go quite as aggressive as that. I was just trying to like do it so we can hear the difference, but I find that your vocals sound a little bit like boxy, like cardboardy a little bit. And that's usually due to like an abundance of that 300 hertz frequency range. So I'd maybe dip a little bit out of that, just to remove that kind of like, I hate using the word muddy, you know, but it kind of explains, it describes the sound that I'm hearing. So I'd just pull a little bit of 300 hertz, maybe like, maybe like 4 or 5 decibels, 3 or 4 or 5. Yeah.
Song, 'cause you give me everything I need.
Like it sounds like you were maybe too close to the mic when you sang or something. There's just like, there's a lot down there. It felt like I was underwater there. There was pressure on my head when you did that. Yeah, I mean, like I went extreme. I pulled 8 decibels out just to you know, show you the frequency range. I wouldn't go that aggressive, but you got to understand also, if you're listening to something that sounds a certain way over and over again, and then you make a change, it's going to sound fucked up. It's like when you're writing a song and you decide halfway through to change the key, it takes a little while for you to get used to the new key. So, but I would just try it. I would try it because it just kind of sounds like a little too like, I wonder if I can, I don't know if that's making any sense or sounding any different on your end, but, yeah. Yeah, we only have 7 songs, so you can toss in a song, no problem. Okay, let's keep going.
And I don't wanna have my heart broken into a million pieces again. Cause even when we're far apart, you know my love for you will always remain. Girl, you show me the light, it's driving me insane. That you still keep me in the dark. I just wanna be in your arms. In your arms. I just wanna be.
Like, when you say the word just, listen to the S in the word just.
I just wanna be.
It's almost like non-existent. So, yeah, there's like 2 things that are just a little bit on my mind about the vocals. One is the S's, and one is the 300 hertz area. And then the snare. So the snare, I like the sound of the snare, but I wish it just kind of sounds like a burst of like high mid energy noise. So if there could be a little bit more like a thunk, like a punch, or I don't know. I feel like I'm always saying this about snares, but maybe it's a personal taste thing, but I think that most snares should at least have a little bit of like a punch to it, you know? Using the EQ that follows the harmless tone voice and have the lowest harmonic slightly boosted in some parts. Yeah, I don't know. The more that I the more that I do this, and the more that I like get experience with producing and mixing, the more I kind of just go back to basics. There's so many fancy tools out there that allow you to do all kinds of crazy stuff, all kinds of, I call it like black box stuff, and the vocals go in one side, there's some magical shit that happens, and then out comes something else, and you don't necessarily understand fully what that box is doing. Like you say, it follows the harmonics, and I think you're talking about, it's called like surfers. There's a plugin at some point where it would find the fundamental frequency of the signal that's going into it, and then you could EQ based on that. So if you move up a note, the whole EQ shifts up with it, and that in theory sounds cool, and it can be cool. But when you use black box stuff where you kind of understand what it's doing overall, but there's a lot of like magic going on inside, and any sort of like a plugin that has, like a knob that does everything with one knob, or that I tend to steer away from that. I tend to go back to the basics of EQ, compression, maybe some sort of harmonics, like an overdrive or something that adds harmonics through distorting the signal in some way. I just keep, the more I do this, the more I just rely on like basics, because you just have more control and you understand what you're doing a little bit better, as opposed to just, I just remember back in the day where I'd have like a signal chain with 800 plugins, and I don't know what lever to pull or what knob to twist to make it do a thing, because every time I turn one thing, there's 10 other plugins down the line that are maybe counteracting what I'm doing. So I wouldn't hire a mixing engineer. I mean, like, the mix doesn't sound bad. It just, there's a couple mysteries, the mystery of the S. Where did the S go? And maybe that has something to do with one of these plugins that you're using. Although if you're saying that it's rate baked into the recording, then that's a whole other mystery. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of crazy, powerful, cool plugins out there. But it's almost like if you like go to like a master chef, they're using very basic raw ingredients to make like their stuff. They're not going and getting all kinds of crazy processed things and whatnot. You know what I mean? You're going to snap me your mix. I don't really know how that works, but anyway, moral of the story, I don't even know if there is one, except maybe, I think somebody said less is more. Sometimes that is true. Sometimes more is more. When it comes to money, more is more, But when it comes to effects on your vocals, sometimes all you need is like, EQ, compression, some sort of delay or reverb, and that's it. And if you're starting with good ingredients to begin with, you don't need to add all kinds of salt and sugar and paprika. You know, you can just rock the raw ingredients with a little bit of salt. Okay, cool. That's what I got for you. I think the track is really good. The song is really good. I just the vocals just could sit in the mix a little bit better, and the snare could have a bit more tone. Those are my final thoughts. Cool. Thank you for sending. Let's check out Drop Pop Hop Pop. Dynamite Carnival VG track for fun. What does VG stand for? Very good. Okay. This sounds like something that would be either on like a Donkey Kong racing game or Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's got a bit of like Cotton Eye Joe to it as well. I think it's the banjo that's really getting me. I don't know what kind of feedback you want for this. I think technically speaking, there's like not a lot of sub bass. Like the kick and the bass feel like they're an octave up from where they should be. Like the kick drum, and it feels weird giving you real feedback on this track because the track is so silly. And don't get me wrong, it's enjoyable and fun and funny. You know, it's silly. Yeah, so I don't know if mixing feedback is necessarily what I got for you, but like it feels to me like I'm holding in a sneeze. I feel like we haven't like landed. You know, I feel like it's building up the tension, but it's not releasing the tension. And the kick drum feels like it's just a punch. I don't feel like a like a low whomp, you know. And same with the bass. The bass just kind of sounds doody doody doody. What do I got? Okay, you're an A, so you're already kind of losing. I think it's because you're going. I think it's because you're doing the octaves, and when the low octave hits, which delivers the deepest version of that bass, the kick is there and it gets sidechained out of existence, and then the kick doesn't really provide much bass. So now you're pulling out the deep part of your bass when you play that low note to replace it with a kick that doesn't have much bass. And then when the kick goes away, the bass that we hear is up an octave. So we're hearing like a thin kick and then a high octave bass note and then a thin kick and a high octave bass note. So I don't really, I guess the way to fix that would to maybe to make the kick drum have a bit more whomp, like a bit more low end to it, so that when we're pulling out the deepest, you could maybe, I don't know, maybe you could try that. Or maybe just try not doing the straight up octave thing the whole time. Maybe just, I don't know. It's just something to be aware of, because I just feel like it doesn't have that like low bass. It feels like you've got lots of energy and everything from the second harmonic of the song all the way up. That feels very filled out. But that low fundamental bottom note just doesn't feel like it's there for me. But then it's like, does that matter? Because if you don't do the booty, the booty octave thing, if you don't do the booty octave thing, then does that take away from the vibe of the song? And is that more important than providing us with a lot of low sub for this? That's why I'm like, kind of like, what kind of feedback do I give you on a Donkey Kong Racing Adventure song? Yeah, I don't really know. It's a tough one to give feedback on because it's silly. I like it. Maybe one piece of advice for like the writing of it is, instead of constantly going between G and A, maybe the first octave you add the sub and the octave up notes no sub. I don't really get it. I don't really understand that. Maybe the first octave you add the sub and the octave up notes no sub. I don't know how that would help, and we want more sub. Yes, the 80s keyboard is a bit ear piercing, a little bit, but like, again, it's kind of like the essence of the track, you know. Does it need to be this loud? Probably not. Anyway, the idea I was going to say was maybe at some point you stop going alternating between G and A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Maybe you just stick at G. Oh God. I hit the wrong button. Maybe you stick at like switch it up a little bit, because I feel like it's the whole time it's just going between those two notes. So maybe at some point it drops and it does something, or it sticks at like the root note for a bit, and then it builds up, and then it goes back to the alternating thing. But overall, I think it's a fun track. Yes, the 80s thing is a bit ear piercing, and the bottom end seems to be a bit lacking. Those are my thoughts. But whenever they release Diddy Kong Racing 7 or whatever, then maybe this could be in it. Stick the first octave note used. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could try that. But I would err on the side of like what works best with the song, not what works best with the subwoofer, because this isn't the type of track where it's like we want maximum subwoofer action. I don't think. This is more of like a silly experimentation into the video game world. All right, let's check out the next one. Thank you for sending Drop Pop. This one is Horu, and it's Giving Star. So this is cool, but there's a whole lot of stuff happening in the center of the track. I'd probably take the arpeggio out right at the start of the drop. So sorry, I'm jumping around. The narrowness of the mix is an issue, mostly because there's a lot of elements that are all kind of piled up in the center. Let's listen to the side channel and just see what's on the side. Mid side, solo the mid. I think it's mostly the bass and the vocals are right in the middle. And by the way, I know it's called Gangster. I was just making a joke. Yeah, so I'd probably try building it up, and when you drop, get rid of the arpeggio, get rid of the shaker, the tambourine, just have like the kick, the snare, the vocal, and the bass. And then I would try to find a way of getting the bass on the side channels. Like you can have the sub, obviously you want the sub and the meat of the bass to be in the center so you don't have any weird phasing issues. But if you could either layer a unison bass or something to give it some stereo width. So now what we would have is we'd have the kick and the snare and the vocals in the center. We'd have the bass kind of spread out, providing it kind of like a place to live. And it's not going to be right on top of the vocals because it's spread out a little bit. And when you drop simple like that, you can go and then halfway through like the first drop or like, I don't know, 8 bars later, whatever, you can bring in the tambourine. And now the tambourine is like, okay, now things are picking up. And I think that the drop would be way more impactful if you built it up with the arpeggio and the shaker, and then it right down tight to like drums, bass, and vocal, like the funk vocal thing. Then you could start layering the stuff back on top. Because like the arpeggio, the shaker, and the vocal are all kind of like on top of each other, and they kind of conflict. So what I would probably do is I'd have a section maybe up till here with just the kick, the bass, and the vocal, and the drums, the bass, and the vocal, bring in the tambourine halfway through, and then maybe pull the vocal out and have the arpeggio as like the main thing and have like a stab. So a stab on the downbeat and have the arpeggio now the main thing, and then the stab on the downbeat again, and that would maybe get you over to here. And then maybe you could go back to either have a breakdown, or you could go back to like drums, bass, and vocal. I think you will be surprised at how much harder it hits if you just remove the arpeggio and the tambourine, and it's just like dom 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 with the vocal on it. I think that will hit a lot harder. And then that way you can play back and forth between having the shaker and the arpeggio, which is, you could kind of think of that as like one, I don't know what the word would be, like one section could be reliant more on the stuff, and then the other section could be more reliant on the boom 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 thing. Especially with this like tuned down vocal, like I don't know, I think there's a lot of cool shit happening, but the problem is that there's a lot of cool shit happening all at the same time, and that's a pretty common issue. Sometimes just going through and deleting things out of sections, it's like, oh my god, this is so much better without that arpeggio. It's not that the arpeggio is bad, it's just that it maybe is stepping on the toes of the other cool shit that's trying to exist. But yeah, I think trying to make better use of the stereo field without doing cheap, shitty, cheating things like stereoizers and stuff like that, finding creative ways to fill out the stereo field is going to help a lot. Yeah, it's a cool track. That's what I think. That's what I got for you. Thank you for sending. Let's check out the next one. We got Multi Fox, Trapped Inside. Trapped Inside what? pretty sick. I think this is my favorite multi-fox submission so far. I wonder, like, I actually really like this drop. I wonder if you could maybe sneak in a little yoink every once in a while or something. You know, like replace that with a different sound, just because I like the bass that's there now, but I think if you could play off of maybe having two basses and it's like ding der ding ding der der ding der der ding der der walt der der ding der der ding der der ding, like it could be a bit more interesting of a phrase without. I wouldn't go crazy. I would keep this as the main phrasing, but just sneaking in a little bit of call and response, sneaking in a little extra different sound design items and whatnot, I think would be cool. That's still, it sounds like the autopsy sound again. Yeah, I agree verbatim. I think this is like a good bass thing, like bass, B-A-S-E. Like, and now it's time to go in and pull out certain parts and replace them with blah, 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 like weird blah, blah, blah sounds and stuff like that. I think you're right. I think ear candies is a good idea. It's sick though. You did a great job with this one. I really like this one. I think now it's time to go and do ear candy stuff. And that's kind of what I meant in the beginning when I said like pull out certain moments and replace them with yoinkies or wibbly wobs and stuff like that. Just look at this. This is how many songs we've reviewed on this stream. Over 2,500 songs we have listened to and given our feedback on. That's an aggressive number. Anyway, I think you did great. I think maybe I don't know. I think the next thing, like maybe there's a couple improvements you can make with the mix and master, but that's not the problem. I think the problem is it just needs a bit more variance and a little bit more ear candy. So there's some cool bass sounds here. Maybe you can just sprinkle them in a little bit in the first drop to get us accustomed to those sounds, and then they could be used a bit more heavily in the second drop. But yeah, I think like for a groove, the groove is pretty soft. Just like if just every once in a while. Like right there, I don't know, I go into my folder of things that I've made and just throw in a random I don't know. This is like it's not even the right key, but that's kind of what I meant. Every once in a while, just replacing one of your normal wub sounds with something spicy that's different. But not just doing it randomly, trying to create like a phrase out of it, you know, like maybe every 8 bars something happens, every 4 bars something different happens, and then every 16 bars we get this other thing that happens, you know, trying to create a pattern of wubs and dubs and wibbly wobbly thugs. Anyway, that's what I think. I think you did a good job, dude. Well done. Next up, we got PGX Heart Cry Remix Contest, 6/27/25. It's crazy that it's 2025.
Wait for me, I'm falling. My heart is on a relapse. Can't you see I'm all in? So catch me in your hands. No, don't let these tears hit the heart ground. No, need you near, so won't you reach out? Can you hear my heart cry for you? Calling out in the night. Oh, can you hear my heart cry
Yeah, that drop was sick. I really like that. I think the instruments that you have going on top of each other, they all kind of add up in that frequency range that you saw me pull down. So I'm not suggesting that you remove any of those elements. They are a bit conflicting, but I think it's more of a mixed thing. I think that if you were able to chill out that kind of resonant, especially because one of the instruments is just playing the same note over and over again, and then when that other note that's moving around lines up with it, it just gets a bit too tingy in that frequency range. So if you're a little bit more careful, I'm not suggesting you do that in the master. I think you go and, you know, now that I've pointed it out, maybe investigate the individual tracks and see if you can just chill out that frequency range a little bit. Maybe dip a little bit out of like the kind of, there's like 2 main elements that's really contributing to that 3 to 5 kilohertz range. But the drop is really good. I kind of feel like it's maybe too short. Like I was like grooving and I was not ready to stop grooving when it stopped grooving. You could do that. This is what I probably would do. You could have like a tiny little almost breakdown, and then you just go back into one final repetition of that drop. I don't know, dude. I think it needs to go a little bit longer. Like, let's see what this sounds like instead. Yeah, hold on. Let me put the 128. There we go. So it's right here. So that would go here. But then we fake it out a little bit like so. And then maybe for this last repetition, you take out the whiny kind of synth and you replace it with the vocal thing that maybe you cut up in an interesting way. I don't know. I mean, it's not necessary. It's not like the end of the world if the first drop. I know that the second drop goes for a while. I just know that when I was listening to it, I was like, fuck, I don't need this breakdown. Like, I'm not tired yet. I still want to keep going. That's how I felt. My heart is on a relapse. Can't you see or maybe you could keep the arrangement the way it is, but right here you keep like a or something so that I'm still kind of grooving along with it, as opposed to now I'm like, I should go get a drink at the bar. You know, like that's kind of like your typical when the song comes to a bit of a lull or something, you're kind of like, you know, but the thing is, if you rock somebody into to the point where they're like sweaty and out of breath, and then it gets to a breakdown, that feels different than I don't need a breakdown, I don't need a break, but I'm getting a break. Like those are two very different things, right? So anyway, something to keep in mind. No, don't let these tears hit the heart. Yeah, other than that, I think the groove is sick. Like I was grooving the whole time. So it's great. I don't know. I think the first drop could just be a little bit longer. And then I think for a DJ mix, I'd probably have like a bit more of the outro that kind of filters down to more of just like the bass chugging with the kick and the clap and maybe like, it strips out, and then it's like just like an open hi-hat for a while, and you know, like a DJ sort of mix. But for like a radio mix or like a Spotify, the arrangement's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. You take that with a grain of salt, you know, because like the arrangement works as is, but I just personally, I wanted to groove a little longer. So cool. All right, let's check out verbatim. Blrun. The mastering on this is interesting. There's a lot of dynamics. Let's have a listen. Okay, so besides the non-mastering part, whatever, that's, you know, obviously it's not fully mastered, that's fine. When it gets here, I would chill out on the bottom end on the kick. Like the kick, if we listen to just the sub range here, it's like just kick. So it kind of sticks out. You could turn it down, but what I would probably do is I'd probably high pass the kick a bit. So we get a bit of a punch, but we don't get that full whomp until the drop hit. Because I find the drop lacks power. But I don't think it's because the drop lacks power. I think it's because you introduced the thick kick before the drop hit. Introduce the thick kick before the drop hit. Wow, that's some fucking bars right there. Anyway, you know what I mean? Like when we get to the, yes, we got the bass, but it just right before, it almost feels like there's more power before the drop hits, and then the drop hits, and it's not necessarily a letdown. It feels, you know, like a cyberpunk style drop or whatever. But if we just listen, like it's pretty cool on its own. It's just the way you introduced it kind of set the expectations a little too high in terms of power, you know? So you could make it more powerful, or you could set the expectations a little lower. And I know that has negative connotations, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not giving us the full power of the kick until the drop hits, like holding out on it. High pass it. You could bring the high pass down slowly, and then right before the kick, or like right before the first kick of the drop, have it full power. But you're holding back a little bit until the drop hits, and that way the drop feels like it has more impact. And another thing is, like your drum fill right before, you can like visually see the issue here. Right before the drop, it's like, wow. But then the drop hits, and it, you know, you can see the energy of that drum fill right before it. I would maybe I don't know. I would just set, you're just setting the drop up a little. You could set it up better. Let's keep going. There are no commands that work on this, but what you can do is manually go to discord.gg/FowlerMusic and submit your track that way. Thank you. I like this part. The one thing I will say, though, the thing that this is lacking is something that gives the track identity. You know, it's a cool cyberpunk. You know, like I could be driving through the streets in some sort of futuristic Tron style thing and they would fit with that, right? But there's no like, we got like the drums, we got the cyberpunk bass, it's playing the cyberpunk notes. But like what's the identity? What's like what sets this song apart from another cyberpunk track that has the drums, it has the bass, it's playing the cyberpunk notes? You know, like what is the identifying element? A melody, sure. A stab, a sound, a way, like this right here. That is something that, okay, that's a memorable thing that happened in the track, and that's a good thing. But when it's chugging along, you could kind of substitute that for another cyberpunk track. You could probably cut like between 4 cyberpunk tracks in this drop and it wouldn't necessarily sound out of place. Like it would probably fit right in. That's not to say that what you got here isn't good. It is good. I think it's like the basis of something, and now you've got to give it the spice. You know, this is like you've got really good pie crust, you know, and you've got really good filling. But what's the pattern on top of the pie that's going to make your pie seem different than somebody else's cyberpunk pie? You know, maybe you have a living mouse. Maybe there's an alive mouse on top of that pie. It's very avant-garde and some people wouldn't like it, but I guarantee you that your pie would stand out if you had a living mouse that lived on top of it. Okay, I wouldn't recommend doing that in real life. This part's cool. I like the thing that came in on top. That's cool. Like that's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. Up until now, the drop consisted of 8th note cyberpunk chug bass. I actually had a pair of studio monitors that are sitting over there. They're Yamaha HS50, or I don't know. I don't remember what they are. Anyway, they one of them got destroyed because there was a mouse nest inside of the speaker. It has like the bass port, like the hole, I think in the back. And anyway, I called them Yammy the Yamsters because they were in the Yamaha speakers. And I'm terrified of my focals getting the same treatment, but so far so good, knock on wood. I like this breakdown. Like your breakdown sections and the intro and stuff like that has some character to it. That has distinguishing elements, you know. There's not necessarily a melody to speak of. I need a studio cat. I don't think I'll ever get another cat. After I had Cola, I think that was it. Anyway, there's not necessarily, you're right, there's not necessarily a melody to speak of. There's a lot of cool sounds and atmosphere and vibe. Like you're strong on the vibe. The vibes are good. But the melody there's not really much of a melody in this track at all. That part's cool too. Like it's not that this track has no substance. I think it's mostly just the drop sections. I don't know. Listen, I would take this, what I'm saying, with a grain of salt, keep it in mind, listen to some cyberpunk tracks that you love, and try to extract what I'm saying from those tracks to see, oh, at the first of every measure, they do this weird sound stab thing. And then that's a call. And then the next time it's a response to that. And then they still have the chuggy bass in between. It's doing like the bread and butter stuff, but they have these these sounds that are different in each song. And that's kind of like the idea, you know what I mean? Listen to some of your favorite cyberpunk tracks with that framework in mind, and see if you can analyze those songs and get some inspiration for how to make your drops a little less kind of just, I don't like to use the word generic because it sounds overly harsh. I mean, but in a sense, it's kind of a generic cyberpunk drop. It has eighth note chuggy cyberpunk, bass sound. It has 4 to the floor, 100 to 115 beats per minute. It has the cyberpunk drop elements. So I don't like to use the word generic because I don't want to be harsh, but that's kind of like, you could kind of swap this drop out for any number of cyberpunk style drops, and it wouldn't necessarily change the song a whole lot. So all the other stuff in your song, it sounds pretty good. It has its own identifying sounds and features. I think that a melody would be nice in the breakdown. There is kind of one in the piano thing. Dun, 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 dun. Like there's some stuff in there, but it's just not being leaned on enough, I think. Let's keep going. Yeah, like that ding, 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 that thing. It's there, but it's like in the back. It's like in the background. Yeah, no. Like it doesn't sound bad. It just doesn't sound that different than just like your typical cyberpunk thing. So that's a good place to start, because you can always, like I said, that's the bread and butter. For this style of music, you need the chuggy bass. You need the 4 to the floor drums. These are the requirements for this style of music. So you're going to have that. It's just, what else do you add in amongst the mix? Do you pull out the first quarter note of chugs and you replace it with a wub, and then it goes to the chugs, and then 4 bars from there, you pull out the chugs and you put a different wub, and then now you have a bit more of a playful calm response thing, but you still have the chugs in between because that's the requirement for this style of music. I don't know. Like I said, I would take what I'm saying, listen to some of the tracks that you love in this style, and see if you can be like, oh, that's what he's talking about. That little thing, that's the thing, the sound that makes that song, still has the chugs, but it has the sound that it's doing a calm response, and that's what gives this song its character. Drop Hop said the kick is too loud, he thinks. Maybe. It's not like objectively too loud. I think it's maybe subjectively too loud. Maybe it could come down. I don't know. It didn't really bother me that much, to be honest. That is super cool. That is cool. See, that's the sort of shit that we don't hear that very often. Like that sound, down was like an octave down piano thing. It sounds almost like a prepared piano. Like that's cool. That shit is cool. Anyway, I hope that helps. Let's move on. Wrong Reasons Rayhem Remix version 3. All right. It's now time for everybody to get their revenge on Rayhem and to give him extremely harsh feedback.
that you could, till I couldn't feel. Then you left me, then you left me, you left me down this road, the loneliest I've ever known. Then you left me, forgot who I was for a minute. You took it from me, yes, I'll admit it. It's just a game you're playing, I don't want it. I wanted you for all that amazing. I wanted you for all that amazing. I wanted you, I took everything that I was, broke me down into little pieces. Never running from the things I love. Wanted you for all the wrong reasons. Forgot who I was for a minute. You took it from me, yes, I'll admit it. It's just a game you're playing, I don't want it. I wanted you for all the wrong reasons. I wanted you, I wanted you, I wanted you for all the wrong reasons. I wanted you, I wanted you, I wanted you for all the wrong reasons.
I mean, honestly, it's pretty sick. The only thing that I noticed was in the first drop, it feels a bit congested in the center channel. That's why I kept looking at the right here. I feel like there's so many elements. There are so many elements happening, and a lot of them are down the center. I wonder if you could get rid of some of the elements in certain parts. Like, I like all of the elements. I'm just not sure if piling them on top of each other. The second drop didn't seem as egregious with the layering. Like, it seemed a little bit more put together. You know, like maybe like during that Reese thing. Yeah, okay. So for example, and this is not what's up, Raham. So this is not the only time I think you should do this, but right here you have like that Reese thing, but you also still have some elements underneath of it kind of going. Maybe strip that out during that moment. What you missed was me listening to the track and saying, honestly, it's pretty sick. And then I started talking about how it feels congested in the center channel in the first drop. The second drop, not so much, but the first drop, there's just a lot going on. And I think all of the elements that are there are cool, but I would go and like, it's one of these type things. Like, if I do this, I don't know what this is going to do, but we'll try it. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, the vocals like maybe a little repetitive, but like it's electronic music. What do you expect? I'm not going to bother opening a project. Basically there's just too much. You have like fuck. I'll just do it. I didn't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. You know, like if these were all your different sounds, okay, say these were like your different sounds and they're all kind of happening at the same time, I would like go and like, you know, like I like all the sounds, but maybe those two work together there, then these four work, and then maybe these two, and, you know, like go through and clean up some of the elements so that if you have a big greasy Reese sound, there's not also a pad going underneath of it, or like there's not also a vocal trying to compete with like this crazy synth thing that's happening. Just going through and deleting stuff so that each moment okay, Mr. Pegboard Nerd's Buddy Boy, what? I don't understand. I don't get the reference. Yeah, I just kind of feel like the elements are just chugging along at their own accord, of their own accord. I don't know what the saying is, but they're just kind of like each element is doing their own thing and they feel a little unaware of the other elements. The second drop, not so much. Because it's more focused on the chuggy bass, the drums, and the melody synth thing that's happening. But the first drop, it's got lots of cool elements, but like, yeah, I think it just needs to be cleaned up a bit. And that will help with the congestion that I'm feeling. I just feel like there's just too much stuff happening. But it's very good. It sounds very good. I enjoy it. Good remix. Okay, let's listen to Bryden Adams, Lucy Gray. Oh, Brian Adams, Bryden Adams, and Lucy Gray Valora. That's a cool name. Okay, so far this is beautiful, sounding beautiful. The vocals and the guitar are very bright, you know, and that's not necessarily a problem, but you don't. I would bring in something that's contributing to the bottom end. So either a bass, an acoustic bass, another acoustic guitar part that's maybe playing a lower octave, or something. It's just there's a lot of brightness, and that's okay if there's something to balance off or balance out the brightness. And I don't think, like, even when it gets to this part, I was expecting to hear a bass, but I am hearing a kick drum. Even like a piano that's playing like a dun, like if I load up a piano, I probably already have one loaded up, but a ukulele. Okay, cool. You need something, right? You need something. Okay, look at this. F sharp, okay. Okay, so it's F sharp and then D sharp. Hold Hold on, I gotta make this louder. Soft piano, too soft. Oop. Oh, that, I guess it doesn't need 18 decibels. Okay, let's try this. Okay, I played the wrong note, but whatever. So like something that gives us like the warmth. Cause I kind of, when everything is bright, it kind of feels like you're building tension and we're waiting to get the full spectrum, to get that bottom end. And I don't feel like we got that. Let's keep going.
Silence and say your name, repeating. You're the heart that I'm missing.
So that vocal thing that came in here, I like what it's doing, but it's a harmony and it's more present in the mix than the main. So I'd probably bring it down in volume. And I think overall the vocals could be a bit more compressed. They don't have to be crazy like Katy Perry pop singing compressed, but I feel like there's some moments where the vocals poke a bit more and then other moments where, and it's not drastic, just like a little bit more compression. Specifically on those, like that low harmony that comes. And then if you listen to how loud the guitar and the vocals are, and then the drums are just, they almost don't even, they almost shouldn't, I'm not saying they shouldn't be in the mix, but at that volume level, they almost aren't in the mix. You know, like we can hear the thump of the kick every once in a while. And then the snare in the background. Thank you, Will. I appreciate that, I think. But the drums just aren't really doing much for the mix. Okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, in terms of like song, melody, all that, it sounds great. I love the chord progression. I love the vocals. I'm not getting the warmth in the bottom end or the drums. And that sounds like you already have a plan to solve that. So awesome.
Every step pulls me back to where you are. You're returning this time.
I also wonder, mix wise, no, it's mostly just that. It's mostly the vocals and the guitar are just very bright and there's nothing to balance it out. That's like my main mix note. The drums are barely in the mix, but you're gonna record live ones, which brings a whole other set of challenges. I would maybe try to figure out some spots in the track to get away from the dum ba da ba da bum ba da ba da strumming, because I think we kind of get that the whole time. Yeah, so like the whole song is strum, 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 strum. And I like the strumming, I like the pattern, and I like the sound of the guitar. It might be a little bright, but that's not my point. My point is, like, if we could get away from that, especially once you have like a thicker bass or maybe some piano or something, or some longer sustained parts, just in certain sections like pre-chorus or something like that, where you could get away from the strum thing. That I think would break the song up a little bit more, because right now it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of moments in the song. It kind of just sounds like the song starts and goes and then ends. So I think one of the contributing factors to that, and there are some moments like right here, and notice how that moment is kind of punctuated by the stopping of the guitar. Right? So that, to me, that was the only real moment that I could think to go back to. And I think it's funny that the strumming stops there, because that's kind of my point, right? Yeah, that's a good point, Kadia. There's definitely some good inspiration in those tracks because it is very, you're right, very. Do they call them naughties? I don't know. That's the 2000s. Anyway, yeah, I think songwriting, you probably could get away from the strummings during certain parts, maybe long sustained chords, same chords, but sustained. And then when you go back to the strumming, then those are all moments that happen in the track. Oh, the guitar stopped. What's going to happen? Ooh, a little bit of anticipation. And then the guitar comes back in. You've completed the anticipation circle, you know? Yeah, besides that, I think it's dope. Feel free to send it in after you add those things and we'll have another listen. All right, let's listen to the last one of the day. This one is Ensemble for Real in C major at 130 beats per minute. All right, we might as well set this to 130. Okay, so right off the bat, I don't mind the sound of the piano or anything like that, but it's a bit robotic. Ding dong dong. It's a bit too like staccato. Like I noticed it right here. And then this chord is maybe a little too dense in the lower register. Like there's just a lot of notes close together down on the piano and it gets a bit muddy. Yeah, it's this chord right here. I can't even really discern what that chord is. That right here and this, those two chords are too like, they're too like, sorry, one of the notes got stuck on. They're too close together. There's too many notes too close together, too low in the register. You can get away with putting some dissonant notes close to each other if they're higher up in the register on the piano, but when you get down into the lower octaves, you can't really pack too many notes together tightly because just the way that the physics works of those lower frequencies, the difference in frequency between the two notes are just so close to each other. You know, you might only be 10 hertz off going from a D to a D sharp, you know, but 2 or 3 octaves up, now you're maybe 100 hertz away from each other. So you can get away with it when you play it higher up. Like if I play, let's say, so that's a C minor. I'll go down an octave. Still okay. I'll go down another octave. Okay, but it's starting to get a bit messy, and then down another octave. That is almost indiscernible as a C minor because the minor third interval down that low doesn't sound like anything. Up here, it's fine. Up here, it's fine. But down here, and that is the same interval. Every chord I played was just the C and the D sharp, so like the C minor interval. So anyway, here we go. Yeah, you can, if you're quick enough, you can go to the Discord server. The link is at the bottom and submit it there. See, like some of these chord changes are really nice and beautiful, but then every once in a while, there'll just be like this dissonant chord that I wasn't expecting. See, like those two first chords are fine. That chord change, I don't really understand. I don't really even understand what that chord is per se. Dun, dun. That's 2 semitones, right? Let me get my piano back. I feel like I'm playing the harmony of it though. Okay. Never mind. It's 1 semitone. Okay, so you're playing F. You're playing F and then E. So I would kind of then expect an A. I would kind of expect an A. So it sounds like it should be F, E, A. But like all of these, the second half of the chord progression to me just is a bit of a question mark. So yeah, I would say so far my main thoughts are the chord progression needs to be cleaned up and a bit more intentional. It just the first 2 chords are fine. Everything after that, I'm kind of scratching my head as to what is actually being played. Sounds kind of like an M1 piano sound. Anyway, that's what I think. I think this sounds like it's almost like a soundtrack piece or something like that, or some sort of conceptual piece, and that's fine. But I would try getting some of your, like if I do another example, because this is my main takeaway, and this is the main thing I think you should take away from this feedback, is if I bring this over and I play, and again, I'll do a C. Actually, we'll make it a C minor 7. And then let's get rid of yours for a sec, and we're going to put this in. Okay, so see, that sounds perfectly fine. We can even get even more spicy with it, like that's a perfectly fine chord to play, and we can even emphasize it by. But watch what happens when I just take some of these notes and I invert them down. You just can't play it down there. You can kind of play it there, but when you put it up, all of a sudden it sounds great. It sounds like a jazzy intentional chord. And that's my point, is that you can get away with playing some of these densely populated voiced chords, spicy voiced chords, if they're in the right octave. But even just moving this D sharp, we can keep everything else, move that down a couple octaves. It's weird. It doesn't sound good. We put it up an octave. It's okay. Put it up another octave. Now it sounds great. So I think that's my main takeaway for you, is to go through, look at your piano voicing, and try to clean up, like down on your left hand when you play the piano. Those are really sparingly used when you're down in the lower octaves. You're kind of limited to like the root note and a fifth. And once you move your way up to like the right hand higher octaves, now you can get more like holding your hand down on a bunch of notes that shouldn't sound good together, but they do because they're high enough in the octaves. That's what I got for you. I think that, and maybe try to get a little bit more rhythm in the track, because I felt like when we were listening to your track, it was a bit. That's what I'm talking about, Freeze. It was a bit like, oh, here's a chord, and now I'm waiting for the next chord. And there's that chord, and now I'm waiting for the next chord. So pacing and tempo are two different things. You can have a slow tempo, but the pacing can be fine if there's enough stuff happening to get us to the next, the next chord or the next note that's going to happen. But with the track the way it is right now, especially at the start, I just kind of felt like I was just kind of like, when there's the next note. Okay, cool. But anyway, I mean, like, I like the clarinet thing. I don't know if it's a clarinet, but it sounded like a clarinet, some sort of woodwind. It's the melody was good. It was very emotional and reminded me of like a movie or a TV show or something. But it's mostly the voicing of those chords that I had an issue with. I liked when that synthy thing came in. I thought that was nice. I almost think it should maybe come in earlier because it was a nice addition. But I think, it's easy to get overwhelmed with changing a bunch of shit. I would just go and experiment. And if you like it better the way it is, then you go, girl. But like, if I would experiment with taking some of your notes and putting it up, like putting them up a few octaves or changing the voicing around so that it's just a little more clear. The synth thing that I was talking about was this, like here. It sounds like almost like a steel drum. Because up until then, everything was kind of muddy down in the bottom end. We had like this the sustained kind of woodwind lead sound, but in terms of like a regular sound that was happening, it was all kind of low down in the register. When that bell thing came in, all of a sudden we have a bit of brightness. We have a bit more information up in the higher frequency range. That's what I liked about it. All right, let's listen to the last one of the day. Porter Robertson Cheerleader Clomber Flip. I hope I'm saying your name right. It sounds like the thing that sounds like the Interstellar soundtrack. And, the rumbly thing that's coming in here, why not have that just be a simple one note, like sub bass that's following the chord progression? Because it kind of just sounds like noise in the bottom end. I'm not really necessarily hearing notes in that like low frequency thing that's happening. And I feel like if it followed the chord progression, it would be better. All right, I'm actually going to move on now. Here we go. Let's check this one out.
Out. I can tell you're acting your heart out. And she's addicted, obsessed, like I know I can fix him. She's got hearts in her eyes, and she draws me kissing other guys. Her love, the type where she don't know where to draw the line. She needed me, but I need her. It's not bad.
So this is really cool, but it's so fucking loud.
It's not bad. 'Cause I know you like the back of my hands. Don't you care?
Yeah, I mean, like, you say just kidding, but I don't know if you're just kidding. Like, it's, I'm going to say too loud. It feels like I don't have an inch to breathe.
It's not fair. It's not fair. Gave you everything.
Yeah, like it's just too loud. It is, especially at this spot with that vocal. It's the vocal is inside of my head. I feel like I may have brain damage. I don't really know how to critique the mix because I feel like you are smoking the master so hard that it's hard to really know what's happening in the mix versus what's happening in the master. So what I would do with this, because like I like what you're doing. I think the track, to me, it sounds like a track. You have nothing on the master. What are you doing? Just railing it right into, you must have something in the, you must have a limiter or something. There's no way that this is just nothing on the master. Well, then I would say you got to turn shit down because what software are you using? Something is stopping it from, it's FL. Yeah, like I wonder if you have like just the factory, like when you open up a project, it has the FL limiter on it. Something, there's got to be some limiter because I think it would be distorting. It is, I mean, it is kind of distorting. Yeah, I would turn that shit down. I would turn it down until like you basically, I don't even know how I could show you. I can't negatively boost it. I always delete that when I start a project. Yeah, like if you have nothing in your master and we are going full rail to rail, top to bottom, that is a problem. You know, like mix with some headroom and then at the end, you can limit it down and bring it up to full volume. But I think that is going to, that's going to help you drastically. If you just like take all of your mixers and like turn them down, like that. And then all of a sudden your master isn't just going right to the red the entire track. I think that's going to honestly be a big help. Cause like, I like the track. I like where the track is going. It's cool, but it's too fucking loud.
Not mine. I'd rather see it burn like since she hates me cause I'm not her. It's not her, cause I know it like the back of my hand.
It's kind of surprising that it doesn't sound worse considering you were just absolutely raw dogging the output. You know, like it's surprising to me, but I think you do need to give yourself some headroom. You can always make it louder, but you can't make it quieter after it's been through the output like that. You know what I mean? You are just absolutely smashing it. So bring down your tracks, give yourself some headroom, and then once you have a good mix going and it sounds good, raw dogging, like you're just like hitting it. Like there's nothing there to protect anything. You're just going out the output. So I would mix it much quieter and then turn it up after. Yeah, gain staging. That's a good point. But like you need to, if you're going to produce and mix and master, you need to have as much control over what's happening as possible. I just turned it up to 150%. Yeah, I believe it. That is not unbelievable.
It's not fair, cause I know you like the back of my hand. Don't you care? Gave you everything that I feel in your life. It's not
Yeah, but like right now, you can have it loud, but this is egregiously loud. Like there's just, you got to turn shit down. You can turn it down, turn it up at the end. But like don't try to go maximum Skrillex level 5,000 right off the bat. Try to get it to sound good and then brickify it. Yeah. It's honestly, it's hard on the ears. Like I got to turn my speakers down. So what I want you to do is look at your master here, and I want you to grab all your faders, turn everything down until hold on. Keep turning them down until this master is more like down around this area, right? Down around maybe 6 to 12 dB. That's probably a good starting point. And then you may find out that, holy fuck, the vocals are way too loud, but you couldn't really tell because everything was way too loud, right? So if you bring everything down until you have a nice amount of headroom and try to postpone like, oh, it doesn't sound loud, it doesn't sound powerful, like it's not going to sound loud or powerful. That's not the point of the mix. The point of the mix is to make it sound good and to prepare it to be mastered, to prepare it to be squished together with, you know, like Ozone or Maximus or whatever, you know, but the mix needs to be solid before it hits the master bus, and you need to give the master bus a little bit of headroom to work with. Then you can squish it, but you can do it in a much more controlled, thought out, scientific, engineering kind of way. It's not just like send her full volume into the output and good luck, FL Studio. I hope everything works out. Because I feel like that's kind of what's happening right now is you're just like, turn everything up. It all has to be loud, you know? And it's typically that's not the way to do it. It's better to be like, let's get it sounding good, not worry too much about it, comparing it against another song that's been mastered and mixed and mastered and everything. Don't compare it directly like that. Get it sounding good, then get it sounding loud. That's the order of operations, because it's very hard to get it to sound loud and then get it to sound good. A lot of the time, those two things are at odds with each other. So give yourself some headroom, chill out on the volume, get it sounding good, and then use tools like Ozone or Maximus, or there's many different limiters and compressors you can use. But it's cool. It's a cool track. You have a unique style, so good job with that. Just please chill out with the volume. That's what I got for you. All right. Well done, everybody. Good job. This is me full screen. We just got a actually last minute submission. As I go to my full screen to close the stream, we get one more track by Nakai. Nakai sneaks in. Hold on. Let me grab this one last track and we'll check it out. June 27th, Nakai. All right. That was excellent timing. We go back to FL Studio. Okay. This one's called To Me. Holy fuck. That is loud. I mean, like, I get it, but like, I think it's still too loud. Like, it's hard on my ears because there's so much like that frequency range. It's so aggressive. What would it be like if it was just 10% dialed back a little bit, you know? Would it really lose that much power? I also, the contrast between this and kind of sounds like two different songs.
Hello?
Wow. I mean, like, listen, it's fucking loud and aggressive, and I get that, and it doesn't necessarily not fit the style, but I just think that you could do it a little bit not as aggressively loud. I think that it gets into that kind of like it sounds like noise area because of how loud and aggressive it is. It kind of loses its tonality when it's that pushed. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see if you took your mastering off. I don't know if you've mixed it without the mastering recently. I kind of feel like you might be mixing into the master the whole time. I would probably just take a couple, like the track is sick, don't get me wrong, but I'd take a couple steps back, turn off the mastering effects, make sure the mix works, and then maybe rethink just exactly how much you're going to fuck the master limiter, because I just think like the track just sounds like it's kind of going through a distortion pedal. And I get it. That's the style of music, but I just think a little bit more refined, you know, a little bit more refined might be nicer, but that's all I got. It's heavy as shit. So good job on that. Okay. We're back to this shot with the beautiful bokeh. You know, I got the f1.4 lens on. We're getting a real tight focal range. I'm all right into photography now. So, anyway, I love you all. Thank you for hanging out with me and have a good weekend. And I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye.